unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego Unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Kell Brook says that Terence Crawford could be next on the menu. And he says Bob Arum sounded open to it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Sign up for ESPN Plus below using my link. It definitely helps the channel when you guys use that link. Click on it during this quarantine. Everybody, most of us should be locked down, you know, unless you live in certain states or whatnot. But you should probably stay at home anyway if it's at all applicable. And if you need more content to watch to get you by through your day, click on that link. Try ESPN Plus. They have a ton of docuseries and different things to hold you over until we get back live sports. You can get ESPN Plus as a standalone app, or you can bundle it with Hulu and Disney Plus. All three apps, and Disney Plus just added Black Panther on there as well. You know, Wakanda. And you can get all three of those apps for $12.99 by clicking the link below. And it does help the channel. Now, Terence Crawford did an interview with, Kell Brook did an interview with Sky Sports, and he suggested that he could be an opponent option for Terence Crawford. This is what he says. I saw Bob Arum out in America, and I seen him walking through the lobby in the MGM Grand. I basically went over and says, hey, you're running out of opponents for Terence Crawford, and I'm the guy to beat him. I'm here. I saw Terence Crawford. He said he was ready for it. So everybody is on the same page. Everybody wants to make the fight. We just need to make the numbers count for me, for it to make business sense for me. And then we can get training and get ready for the fight. The weight won't be a problem. Obviously, I'm going to have to get the steppers out, chase the kids around the house, and that will help me get the weight off. I've got enough time. If we can agree on what we need to, then we can get into gear and we can make this fight welterweight championship of the world. He said it probably might be in America, but I've heard them talk about Britain. We'll have to wait and see. Bob Arum said this to me. He said he likes the sound of Britain, Bramall Lane. Have a win. It would be fantastic. I want to give my thoughts on this. You know, the fight's cool. You know, there's some stylistic things that are interesting. I have a couple issues with this fight. One, I've been right all along. So that's one issue. Because when I say this stuff on my channel, people think I'm saying it for, I don't know, clout or whatever. But I told you the predicament that Terence Crawford was in. Terence Crawford is a phenomenal fighter. He's one of my favorite fighters to watch. I appreciate, respect him. I've interviewed him. You know, I even know people in his team and his family, you know, some people in his family, stuff like that. And they've always been treated me well. But I told you the only downside for Terence Crawford is he's too damn good, and he's aligned promotionally with Top Rank, and they don't have the stable for him. He re-signed a contract, like I told you, which when you notice, if you go back to my old video where I talked about it, I did the announcement and talked about it the day it was announced that he re-signed his contract. I talked about it. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I specifically said that's his business. A lot of people were complaining, and they said, oh, he should have went to Al Heyman. Why didn't he explore his options? And I said, I feel y'all. I understand why you're saying that. But I said, I'm a grown man. He's a grown man. He gonna make the decisions he wants. So, you know, we'll see. And I was very optimistic. And then, you know, I started seeing the narrative was changing. Like, for example, Terence Crawford fought Terence Crawford fought Amir Khan, and it ended really funky because Amir Khan basically quit because he didn't want no more. And it ended, and I know that Bob Arum was probably upset because his pay-per-view, they put it on ESPN pay-per-view, didn't really promote it, and that's a stinker way to end a welterweight title fight. right? With guys that both have names. So it ended funky. Amir Khan quit, and Bob Arum was raging, and he did a post-fight interview, and he's like, I want to make the fight, but Al Heyman, he doesn't want, he refused. And he just started going in on Al Heyman and the PBC guys. They don't want to fight. I want Crawford, Errol Spence, and he started ranting and hollering, and I was like, oh, okay. And it was funny because I had told you even before that this was going to be the end result, because Terence Crawford is very good. He had okay, look at how they moved Terence Crawford, bro. And this is kind of indicative with Top Rank as it pertains to black fighters. To me, Top Rank has no problem putting their black fighters on the fast track. Like, can you imagine Crawford being in a close, debated fight or a loss? Like, let's say he lost to Jose Benavidez. Crawford would have to rematch that dude. Just like Top Rank put Isaac Dogboe in an immediate rematch when he lost to Navarrete, right? But Lomachenko, who has the complexion for the protection, he loses to Salido. He wanted to fight Salido and fight for a title in his second fight. Nobody else would have, that's out of the norm that I know it was Lomachenko's team, because there's no one that I've seen that's reasonable, that has a respected voice in boxing, that would urge that a fighter, no matter how good his amateur pedigree was, or if he had 2 gold medals, they would put him on such a fast track where, against his will, he wanted to build up and fight, introductory fights and acclimate to the pro rankings. And then they're telling him he has to fight a veteran with power and, rugged guy who had fought Juan Manuel Marquez and Gamboa and all this stuff in their second pro fight. Nobody placed that standard on Lomachenko. It was Lomachenko's team that felt themselves, and they're like, oh, he's just too good. He's the Matrix. He's high tech. And they got a rude awakening when they fought Salido, because he lost. And he lost early in his career, and he never was made to rematch. But I don't think the same would be said for Terence Crawford if he hypothetically lost to Jose Benavidez. They would immediately make a rematch. That's what I feel. Just like Isaac Dogboe versus Navarrete, right? But luckily for Crawford is he's been on the fast track and he can handle it. What I mean by fast track also is when he fought Jeff Horn, bro, he moved from 140, where he was undisputed, his very last fight. I was there. He fought Julius Ndongo, stopped him in 3 rounds, I think, with the body shot. Beautiful. Andre Ward was there. Teddy Atlas was there. I was in Lincoln, Nebraska, had a great time, right? Undisputed 140. He said, I done my duty here. I'm moving up 7 pounds. His very first fight was a champion who had just beaten Pacquiao. Now, Crawford, this whole time, HBO and myself and the fans were craving and clamoring for Crawford versus Pacquiao. But guess what? They never made the fight. Bob Arum has later came and said he didn't want Pacquiao to get brain damage, and he didn't want Crawford to end Pacquiao because he still likes him, and it only would have ended one way, and I self-destructed that fight. So now we see. This is, why. How come Jeff Horn, who had 15 fights, got a Pacquiao opportunity before Crawford, and that would have been a bigger fight? And then if Pacquiao would have lost to Crawford, it wouldn't look as bad as losing to Jeff Horn, a school teacher from Australia that nobody knows. You see what I'm saying? So I have many reasons for feeling how I feel, and it's really justifiable and I think provable what I'm saying about black fighters with Top Rank. Tim Bradley had to fight Pacquiao 3 fucking times. Or 4 times. 3 times. The only other people that is Marquez and Morales. He had to fight Casamayor and all these tough fights. Diego Chavez, and his eye looked like the Goonies. Hey, you guys, Rocky Road. His face, Brandon Rio. He had a resume. He had to fight tough person after tough person. Now, fast forward to Crawford again. Crawford, he's able to handle it. So he ran through all these guys that, not everyone would have just beat. Like Jose Benavidez and Jeff Horn. Pacquiao couldn't beat him officially. I thought Pacquiao won the fight, but the judges didn't see my way, and then they rescored it. So the bottom line is Crawford's too good, and he got fed everybody back to back to back. Got a name like Amir Khan. He ran through all of that. Now he's starving for a PBC guy because those are the best other welterweights outside of himself. Now he's reduced to having to fight Kell Brook. Now, I'm not saying reduced like Kell Brook's a terrible fighter, but Kell Brook's career has really been stagnant as of late. Kell Brook, he fought Michael Zarafa, who just got stopped by Jeff Horn. You know, he beat Jeff Horn, but then got stopped by him. And he didn't look good to me, you know, in that fight. He fought Rabchenko, an unknown guy, and he lost to Golovkin before that, and then he lost to Errol Spence to that. Speaking of Errol Spence and Crawford are considered 1A, 1B of the heavyweight division, and I told you this was going to be the case. While Crawford wants to fight the top dogs, Top Rank simply can't serve him that on the platter. Wilder Fury was a totally different situation in the sense that the fight had already happened before Top Rank's involvement with the career of Tyson Fury. That is not the case for Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. Errol Spence has plenty of options, and he has options that are really good names. And you can't I told you, I went over all of this. How can you complain if Errol Spence rematched Sean Porter? Sean Porter has a better welterweight resume than Terence Crawford because Terence Crawford, again, doesn't have the names on his side that he could fight. Not that he couldn't beat certain guys or that he would. He hasn't fought them because he, one, is newer to welterweight than Sean Porter, and he's not aligned with the side that can provide those fights. So Sean Porter, there's no way on earth you could compare his resume at welterweight to Terence Crawford's resume at welterweight because Sean Porter has the better name. Sean Porter beat Danny Garcia, gave Errol Spence a run for his money. Some people even said Sean Porter won, fought Ugas, ran through Paulie Malignaggi, knocked out Andre Berto, right? He fought Adrian Granados. Sean Porter fought Kell Brook. You see what I'm saying? So herein lies the problem. Let me connect the dots for you. Herein lies the problem with Terence Crawford and Kell Brook. Again, stylistically, it could be a solid fight, but Kell Brook's career has been very mum. He was supposed to be, some of you guys don't know this, but I know my boxing. He was actually supposed to fight on the Joshua American card, the Joshua Andy Ruiz card in New York, but he pulled out. So he actually had some fights where he was supposed to fight and he pulled out. So basically, realistically, me fight on the Anthony Joshua, you know, and he was supposed to fight a couple times against what's his name, Brandon Cook, and you know, different people, and these fights all fell apart. So Kell Brook, you know, he could be looking for a payday. We don't know. The other issue I have with Kell Brook particularly is as soon as he went up to middleweight, which nobody told him to do, and I told you it was a bad idea to fight Golovkin, because even if he has more skill, you can't make no mistakes because Golovkin at the very least is bigger and strong, you know, and we've seen that. And then he moved to welterweight way back then, and Errol Spence came to Sheffield and knocked him out. He said, so basically, I wasn't at me true weight and me proper weight, and me chocolate brownie didn't have me weight. And he lied and said this, that, and the third about he can't make welterweight, which is why he lost, you know, so he made that excuse. Basically, it was too difficult to make the weight, and I wasn't at me true weight. I had just moved to middleweight, and, you know, welterweight's too tall, you know, a bridge too far, or too tall an order is asking too much for me to make welterweight. So how the hell, years later, you're talking about you can do what you need to fight Terence Crawford at welterweight? But you told us 4 years ago or whenever the Errol Spence fight happened in Sheffield that you lost because you can't make welterweight. So, you know, I have some questions about Kell Brook's intention, because he's talked about retirement. He's talked about, you know, he can't make welterweight. And then now I'm expecting you to be who you once were in the welterweight division against a guy like Crawford. I don't know. I have doubts about that. So it might not, you know, it could be another fight like the Amir Khan fight where it's just like he don't look that good, especially if he's depleted and having to make the weight. So it's like, which one is it? 4 years ago or whenever the Errol fight happened, you said you couldn't make welterweight. So now all of a sudden you can make welterweight no problem. You know, are you going to be depleted for real and you're just saying it because you want the payday and you want a big name and the opportunity? Or do you really think you could beat Crawford? You see what I'm saying? So I have those issues. Now, my issue for Terence Crawford is, you know, just more of the same. Crawford in beating Kell Brook, what does that really do for him? Because people are going to naturally compare it to how he wins and how he looks years later to like they did with Ryan Garcia. They looked at the Fonseca performance versus Tevin's performance versus Fonseca. And before that, Gervonta Davis's performance versus Fonseca. So that's the natural instinct for people who know boxing, is to do the barometer test. So I don't know if this is a win-win for Crawford, because if he doesn't do as good as Errol Spence did and like loses would be bad, but if he wins, but he wins like controversially, then that kind of makes Errol Spence look better. You see what I'm saying? Because you'd be like, damn, Errol stopped him and then Crawford had a split decision win over him. Or if he got dropped like the Mean Machine fight, you know, anything like that. So he doesn't really win there. But then same thing is if he destroys Kell Brook, it's just kind of like he hasn't really fought at welterweight in how long? Like, what was his last welterweight fight? Spence? Because I think the Rabchenko and these other fights were 154 or at least 150 plus. So I really don't see Crawford as having the options, because it's a lose-lose situation to me. You know, people aren't going to give him no crazy credit because Golovkin already beat him and Sean Porter already fought him. Some people even say Sean Porter won that fight. So this is what Crawford is up against, and he's kind of at the mercy of PBC fighters. Like, people right now believe that Crawford is 1A, 1B, or even number one in the, like me, number one pound for pound. But as the game gets back to getting fights after this pandemic, it's going to be hard to hold your spot in line if you can't fight the necessary competition. So, for example, let's say I'm just spitballing. Let's say Errol Spence knocked out Danny Garcia. Nobody's done that. So if Errol Spence came back and knocked out Danny Garcia or Manny Pacquiao, then you have to really start analyzing him. And then if Crawford is the best he can get in Top Rank can make is Errol Spence's leftovers, so to speak, in Kell Brook, who's already lost to Golovkin, and some people even said lost to Sean Porter, then I don't see how he'll be able to hold that spot as the game evolves and people keep getting the fights that are more meaningful, like, you know, Teofimo Lomachenko and stuff like that. So we'll see how it all plays out. I would definitely watch. I watch all Crawford fights because I learn from them, you know, and I was actually a fan of Kell Brook too. I just said, you know, he just hasn't had no big moments recently. So I will watch it, but that's my thoughts on the fight. I don't know what it really represents at the end of the day, but that's just my opinion. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Do you love the fight? Do you hate it? Terence Crawford versus Kell Brook could happen, according to Kell Brook. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. If you love what I'm doing, smash the like button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego, signing off.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.